Walt Disney World's summers have been less than crowded over the last couple of years, and now it seems like more people than just that park place are starting to notice. Blog Mickey right now reporting on Walt Disney World's extra slow summer, and they're not the only ones, Vash. Let's talk about it today on That Park Place. This has been a phenomenon that has been going on for the last few years. Now, summer used to be one of the most populated times at Walt Disney World. Now it seems as though it has become the off season. Summertime is the off season when all the kids are out of school. Now that's the off season. And of course, you know, if we point it out, Bob Iger might yell at us.
It was measuring attendance at Disney World on July 4th, which didn't really factor in temperature, which was about 100 degrees and 99% humidity on that day.
Thank you, weatherman, for letting us know what the weather was. God, I hate him. Thank God. I'm so glad he's gone. I'm going to enjoy him being gone while he's gone, just because I'm saying like I fully anticipate him being back. So Walt Disney World's extra slow summer. Let's see what Blog Mickey says about this. It's slow at Walt Disney World right now and has been since the start of summer. In fact, the data says this is an extra slow summer. Yes, summers have been becoming much more of an off season at Walt Disney World in recent years, or more like the past decade. But this year's summer is extra slow. Here's a look at the data and why this slow summer could rebound as early as next year. I think that's pretty hopeful. Low crowds at Walt Disney World during extra slow summer. In this article, posted wait times data shows June and July 2026 are as slow or slower than typical September. Wait times are down 6 to 13% compared to the same months in 2025. And Tropical Americas at Disney's Animal Kingdom could help reverse the trend. That's what he thinks. We're going to start with the data because the feels like crowd situation tends to be subjective. Every time I write an article about wait times or crowds, there's inevitably someone who hit all the lines at the wrong time, including the lines for a hot dog at Casey's Corner, and will tell me how wrong I am. Yep. Well, join the club there, buddy. But on the flip side, there are countless articles, reels, and TikToks every so often that proclaim that Walt Disney World is a ghost town. You know, and then somebody will say, I waited 2 hours for Peter Pan's flight every day of my vacation, and Walt Disney World is a ghost town. Both of those can be the truth. Now, posted wait times aren't perfect. In fact, posted wait times are rarely a measure of actual wait times. Well, that's because they inflate them, Vash. They inflate them because they want you to buy Lightning Lane. That said, posted wait times are the best metric we have. That isn't internal data. I would also underline that there really hasn't been a material change that we are aware of when it comes to how Disney calculates or displays posted wait times in the past few years, which is the time frame that we're going to compare against. Okay, so he said, here's the data he says. He's pointing at Thrill data, which is what we always talk about. So Thrill data is showing that a couple of graphs here. These are high-level graphs that post wait times across the past 6 years, and we are seeing how low things are currently. We're also seeing it here. We're also seeing it here, the low wait times. And of course, we talked about this just last week, Vash. We talked all about, you know, how low the wait times have been. Now, I brought up last year, and I wanted to see if you've thought about this or ruminated on this at all, whether or not this is a matter of people going and not going on rides, because that was what I kind of thought this was recently. Because when I've been there, I haven't noticed like empty streets, right?
Yeah. I think you were actually saying that it kind of felt lively. Maybe not, 9s, 10s or anything like that, but just it didn't feel quite empty, even though the wait times would maybe suggest that it was extremely empty, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, I have a friend that introduced me to this concept of vibes, not rides, where it's going to the parks and just not riding anything. And I mean, that's honestly the way I've been doing it for years. But I think with the addition of Lightning Lane, I think a lot more people are starting to do this.
I think so. I think a lot more people are starting to do this. And also, too, as an emphasis, maybe an enhanced emphasis is placed on perhaps locals, annual pass holders and so forth. People have gone to these parks multiple times. Perhaps it also is playing into this, and I think this is a very astute observation. Obviously, if somebody's paying per day, they're wanting to get on as much of everything as possible, and that probably includes Lightning Lane purchases with that. But for the maybe overriding majority of the people perhaps visiting during this time of year, about the rides for them, and maybe this is why Disney is, releasing stuff like new food offerings in Frontierland, for example. Perhaps this is why they are doing small things in order to perhaps encourage the visitation. More accurately, encourage that monetization from those
Yes.
specific vibes, not rides people.
Yep. So 2023, we're looking at 31-minute average in May, 37 in June, 36 in July, 32 in August, and 30 in September. Now in 2024, that went to 34 minutes, so that went up in May. June dropped to 32. July dropped to 30. August dropped to 28, and September dropped to 26. 2025, we have that drops. May drops to 32. June drops to 31, but it's within a minute of it. July stays even at 30, and then August at 28, and September 26. That's pretty steady there. Now we've got May 30 minutes, dropping another 2 minutes on average. June 27 minutes, dropping 4 minutes on average, and July thus far 26 minutes, another 4 minutes drop. Vash, that is a huge drop from 2025 to 2026. So what do you think is happening here?
Yeah, I think it's a couple things for sure. One is, I think it's the one that Disney is looking at the most. It's just they have announced 17 new rides, shows, and attractions at the last D23 Ultimate Fan event right there. Many of them actually positioned for Walt Disney World, and so people are, they know it's out there that these attractions are coming. And so for a lot of guests who maybe have to go into debt for a Walt Disney World vacation, the prospect of spending thousands of dollars for a vacation in which maybe perhaps you're not getting the full experience that you would have 2 to 3 years down the line, well, obviously people are going to maybe put things off for those reasons. And so I think that has a lot to do with this shift in trend. Also too, Epic Universe is a little bit more of a mature park, and they have offerings there that maybe people want to go and experience for themselves. Maybe not the entire world has had a chance to experience Epic Universe and its offerings. So I think you're seeing maybe some cannibalization that way as well. The other thing too, like you said, Marvin, the vibes not rides. The people who are actually in these parks, taking in the atmosphere, aren't necessarily riders. And so when you look at a metric like wait times, perhaps that's not always indicative of what you might experience in terms of crowd levels actually there at these parks. I think that's what we're seeing as well.
Now, when we look at percentage, BlogMickey has broken this down, Vash. May in 2025 versus 2026, 2 minutes slower or 6.25% lower. June was 13% lower, and July was 13.3% lower. That's crazy. That is really crazy. He says, if you visited this summer, I highly doubt you would relay crowd info to your friends by saying that it felt like June was 4 minutes slower this year versus last year. However, as a percentage difference, you could more easily quantify and justify the feels like crowd as being 13% lighter than last year. Now, Jay and I always say, when we go, like, it doesn't feel like it's empty. And again, I think it's the vibes not rides thing. And I think Lightning Lane has a lot to do with it, because I think people, when Fast Pass was free, I think more annual pass holders would go and would ride. And maybe that's why the rides are, the wait times were higher. I don't know. Right. Because again, these are just measuring the wait times. They're not measuring the turnstile count. It's not measuring how many people have walked in the door.
Yeah, that's a very good point, and only Disney truly knows those numbers. Obviously, we have the ACOM or TEA, Themed Entertainment Association numbers to wait on for this year, that we probably won't be getting this year's numbers for a little while. So we can only really judge by what we actually are seeing, what we're actually experiencing, how the company is reacting, etc. And I think it's very, very apparent that and this quite follows the consumer trends that have been occurring, as you beautifully pointed out in this article and other coverage, Marvin, that people have been shifting their vacations from the summer to maybe the winter, fall months, and so forth.
They're more willing to take their kids out of school than they've ever been before.
Well, and that might also have to do with the fact that I think perhaps schools across the country are shifting to maybe year-round settings, right, in order to pack in more curriculum.
I didn't know that.
I think California has moved to all year round. I think there are a number of states who have. I had to actually get a breakdown of that, but I have seen that, in which there's been this trend of maybe perhaps getting rid of summer and having these kind of breaks nestled throughout. But like you said, I think parents are more willing to take their kids out of school because of the cost of a vacation. right? When it was something that you might be able to see a little bit more regularly, a little more frequently, or didn't have as much invested in that vacation, perhaps it's like, okay, let's go ahead and take advantage of these summer months. Now,
Right.
I think that's very much changing as the costs have gone up.
Okay, so why is it still at Walt Disney World? Let's see what Blog Mickey thinks, and let's see if we agree. If we establish the crowds are lower, the next question might be why. First, there really isn't much drawing guests to Walt Disney World this summer. That's not to say there isn't a reason to visit, but for guests to flock to Walt Disney World en masse, you need a new land or a marquee new attraction. See, I think that's unsustainable because you can't always be opening a new marquee attraction or a new land. But they have opened refurbished things like Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin, which, by the way, is a completely different experience now. And I actually think is an elevated experience, and Big Thunder Mountain, which I also think they've elevated. But both of those, Vash, when I was there 2 weekends ago, were, I think I waited 20 minutes for both of them. So it's not really Cool Kids Summer also not doing the thing. It's not bringing people in. They aren't resulting in a huge number of new bookings. Even Rock and Roller Coaster starring the Muppets, again, another new attraction. It's not like there aren't new attractions this summer. Technically a new attraction, but it's not going to draw people in like a brand new land or a brand new attraction would. Honestly, that's okay. Earlier in this article, I mentioned that this year's slow summer may rebound as early as next summer, and a new land is the reason why. Next year, the Tropical America's Land at Disney's Animal Kingdom will debut. Do we actually think that's going to happen next year?
Probably not, right?
I mean, I don't know, man. That's like, that's a pretty hefty, prediction there that it's going to debut next summer. I don't think it will. I think we've got another year after that.
Yeah, I can definitely see it. I mean, this is the issue here, Marvin. When you have these big attractions. Okay, please.
I'm sorry. He says it's worth noting that everything I've heard so far was just a second half opening for the land, missing the summer season. So there you go. What were you saying? Right.
Well, this is the problem when you get into areas in which these things are delayed. Maybe a Fast and Furious coaster comes up for discussion right there. When you have these things, right, that are draws and so forth. When you have to push these things out, obviously that pushes back vacations, pushes back visitation, etc. I think one of the things that they're missing, Marvin, perhaps the ROI has changed on this. I understand that's probably a thing, but entertainment historically was the kind of the short-term way to get people in, keep people satisfied, and keep people coming back. And we just haven't seen those huge productions actually make their way into these parks while these attractions are being developed.
Let me ask your opinion about this. Do you think that Tropical Americas, does it open all at once, or do they do, because they did a phased closing, do they do a phased opening?
I think they're going to do a phased opening. Yeah, I don't think they're going to open it all at once. I think they're going to open.
Yeah, that's what I think too. You're going to open Encanto first, and then they'll do Indiana Jones.
I think it's the opposite.
Because Dinosaur closed after. Oh, then again, it's just a reskin, right?
Just a reskin. That's the thing. Now,
this is why I have delayed. You here, guys. you do the thinking good.
I do try, but because it's a new attraction completely, right, for Encanto, I think that opens last. I think they're gonna go, the reskin portion to the land first, then Dinosaur or Indy, and then Encanto. I think that's kind of the way it's gonna work there.
Okay. So there's another factor I see get talked about a lot is the increasingly oppressive weather. It's hot. No! That is not why. This is not a new thing. Florida is not suddenly hot in the summer. Can we stop with this? I am so tired of this as the reason people are giving. Oh, well, it's hot in the summer. It has always been hot in the summer. Since Ponce de Leon flopped himself on the beach looking for the Fountain of Youth in St. Augustine, it has been hot in Florida. Stop it.
Wow. I mean,
that incenses me. That utterly incenses me, Vash, when people are like, well, it's hot. I mean, what do you expect people to go to Disney World when it's hot out? They've been doing it for 50 years, Bob.
It was measuring attendance at Disney World on July 4th, which didn't really factor in temperature, which was about 100 degrees and 99% humidity on that day.
Go fund yourself, Bob.
It is really great. The fact that this keeps coming up over and over and over and over again. And it's kind of like, okay, well, it's always been hot. Yes. Does heat play a factor? Yes, it does. However, right, it didn't used to play as much of a factor. Two reasons. One was... Go ahead. Oh, go ahead, please.
I was going to say, where else it's hot? The Bahamas. But the cruise ships fill up.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
That's true. A vacation... simply, it just wasn't as expensive as it is today, right? And it's like, if I'm going to take my kids out, if we're gonna do and spend this much and whatever, we're going to do it at a point in which we're comfortable. I think the other thing though, Marvin, and I was talking about schools and so forth year round. Apparently, that might have actually declined, not increased. So I do apologize. I was looking a little bit more into it, and maybe it's not as pervasive as I was originally expecting. But besides that fact, there, if people are going to take out their kids from school and do the whole vacation right there, and maybe go into debt with it, as there has been some surveys suggesting that 50% of parents with kids actually do. It's like, we're going to choose the time when we go. The other thing too, Marvin, is that I don't know if you've felt this, but Disney's going a little bit lax on that AC with their indoor attractions, with their indoor experiences, etc. It's just a little bit more uncomfortable to go to Walt Disney World than it's ever have been. Would you agree with this?
I don't know, because I feel like I still get kind of cold when I go into some of these places. I feel like they crank the AC when it's raining out, like specific, or maybe it's just because I feel it more because it's wet. But like, that's when it gets really uncomfortable. But I don't know, man. I don't think they've like cut down on I think that maybe people are less willing to go through an ordeal when it's so hot out. Like when Disney, when it was easy to go to Walt Disney World, when it was easy to go on what do you call it? Like when it was easy to get off the plane and get on Magical Express, it was easy to get turn down service every day. Like all of these things that like added value into the trip. It was easy to get in the lines because of Fast Pass. I think maybe that might have been it. Maybe people are less willing to like go through an ordeal when it's really hot out, or maybe Vash, it's just that snowflakes melt in the heat. I don't know, but of course there is the fact that there are also fewer special offerings during the summer in general. There's no Epcot festival, there are no special seasonal events, but that speaks to why summers are slower in general, not why this summer is slower. Summers were never slower before this. Like he says, honestly, I think summer being slower is just continuing a trend of slower summers at Walt Disney World. The trend will likely be propped up over the next few years as new offerings come online. We expect a cadence of one new offering per year, likely debuting around summer, as Disney has been known to do. We're talking Tropical Americas in 2027. No. Monstropolis in 2028. Maybe 2028. Piston Peak National Park in 2029. Not a chance in Hades. And then Villains Land sometime in 2030 or beyond. Again, maybe. That will help.
Yeah.
But that begs the next question. Are lower crowds a bad thing at Walt Disney World? Subjectively, lower crowds are a welcome experience by guests. Yeah, absolutely. I love it when it's a lower crowd. When I hear that it's a low crowd day, I'm more likely to go. So I don't know. Disney's been rolling out discounts and deals for the summer travel in recent years. The addition of Cool Kids Summer last year, continuation of this year, suggests that the crowds are approaching or below the floor that Disney would like by injecting some life into summer. Okay, we get it. You have hope, Blog Mickey. I mean, by the way, some images might brighten your articles up a little bit. But
yeah, I know.
Professional opinion. But
well, and the reason I brought up the AC comment right there is because I've heard from a number of different people over the years. It's like, it's a little hotter here. It's a little, it's just a little bit more uncomfortable than it ever has been to go in the summer. Look, I just you certainly have changing consumer interests, and that this has been widely viewed over the last 20 years or so, where more people are opting to go to Walt Disney World during these months that maybe aren't as hot. And the other thing too, I think really happening here is that, look, why would you go to Walt Disney World now? You got Epic Universe, that's new. You got all these coming attractions that are coming in the next few years. Why would you go now? There really is no incentive to do so.
Yeah. Yeah, I do get that. Like, this is not the year to go. Maybe this is the year you go to Universal instead because Epic Universe is still so new.
Right.
You know, Epic Universe is only a year old and it's doing incredible. They just added a nighttime show. I don't know. But anyway, guys, we are not the only ones noticing anymore. Go ahead, Vash. What were you going to say?
One last thing. This is why Universal never talks about future projects. Ever until the last minute, because they don't want people, holding back their vacation patterns in order to see those new attractions. So,
that makes a lot of sense. It's actually really smart. So there you go, guys. Walt Disney World is not as crowded in the summer. We are not the only ones to notice. And do you think it's, I want to hear from you guys in the comments though. Do you think it's actually going to turn around in a year? Do you think that Tropical Americas could actually debut in a year? I personally don't, but I want to hear what you guys think. Let us know in the comments.
Thanks for watching That Park Plays News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.